what it is. You see the Cowboys star in the back. You see the Cowboys hat. We just had an awesome Best of Enemies podcast, so you make sure that's a selfish plug. Make sure you go check that out. But I told you, we doing the high school thing, man. I got the high school guys, and I've been having a slew of great interviews. And I guess what? I got another dog in the building, a young gun, 6'2", 230-pound linebacker, Bryson Walters out of Mississippi. He's an animal, 100 tackles as a freshman. He's going to really come on the scene and really blow things up. But I don't want to do all the talking. I'm going to introduce you to Bryson Walters and let tell him a little bit about himself. So, Bryson Walters, for everybody who don't know who you are, give a little background about yourself. So before we hit this interview.
Hi, I'm Bryson Walters. I live in Fulton, Mississippi. I'm a sophomore. Uh, Play football and baseball. That's really about it. I hunt every once in a while, but not too much. But
Okay, I like that. Now, one of the things I noticed that I've interviewed a lot of Mississippi guys. They play football and baseball. Is that like y'all's criteria, man? Usually it'd be football, track, it'd be football, but I football, basketball. I be seeing football, baseball. So it's like baseball, a huge sport out there in Mississippi.
well, I just kind of grew up playing baseball. When I was younger, started playing travel ball when I was probably eight or nine,
Uh huh.
and I've kind of played until I was grown up playing baseball. My dad played baseball, and then so my dad's my coach, so I just play football and baseball. He coaches both of them for me. So.
Okay. Okay, that's nice. Now, before we get into some questions, I'm going to ask you, tell me real quick, because I've interviewed, like I said, about three players that have played baseball as well, and they told me the correlation from from football to baseball. What's your correlation? Does baseball really help you in the field of football? And tell me your perspective from that.
I feel like baseball can help a little bit. Just, uh, well, I really don't know, really, but
So,
really,
what position do you play in baseball?
I catch and I play third.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I will say if you're a catcher, then let's go to the physical side because when them dudes is coming in after hitting a base and they getting at third base and they about to come plow you, you're gonna be sitting there at catcher and smash them, and you're already a dog linebacker, and I know once you put your hands on them running backs and stuff, they go down. So I'm gonna go expect. So once they run into you, they hitting a brick wall and they ain't getting in and they ain't scoring. So then we're gonna look at it like that in that aspect. All right. So let's jump into the linebacker position. You play inside linebacker. You had over 100 tackles as a freshman, which is really ridiculous. A lot of players don't come in as their freshman and get over 100 tackles. You play inside linebacker. So out of the three positions, the Mike, the Will, and the Sam, where do you feel like your best position is right now? Strong side, weak side, or the Mike linebacker?
Well, I play strong side. I feel like that's my best side because the way we play our defense, the strong side lines up to the two receiver side. So like the wide side of the field most of the time. So I feel like I can get over the ball, make the tackles and stuff like that. So I'm not slow for my size. So I feel like I can get over there and make the tackles, and then if I have to, I can put my nose in the line and make tackles.
Okay, so did you feel like you want to be able to know the other positions, the weak side and the Mike as well, or do you want to really hone on that strong side position?
Well, we play. Sometimes we'll go to stack, so I have three
Mm-hmm.
linebackers, and I'll play
Mm-hmm.
the middle sometimes when we go to
Okay.
that. So I do play that, but most of the time when we play our normal defense, I'll play the strong side.
Okay. So you're really effective in stopping that run game, and that's why they like to keep you over there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, I mentioned before we started getting into this interview that you had a 100 tackle season as a freshman. Like I said, that's pretty unheard of. You don't hear guys coming in as a varsity getting 100 tackles as a freshman. So obviously, we're seeing that you have good instinctual ability. I watched your tape. You're very physical. Once you get your hands on the player, they go down. But I'm seeing that from my perspective. Where do you feel like your strengths are at that linebacker position, especially the strong side? And what do you think going forward you need to kind of add to your game to kind of take your game to another level?
Well, I try to pride myself on trying to be being as close to football as I can every play. So like, um, I feel like that's another reason I had over 100 tackles last season. I try to be as close as I can, and then of course, try to make the tackle, but I try to get there, and then really what I need to work on. Like, well, I can really work on everything in part of my like anything. I can work on that about my game, but I really need to work on man coverage and like some of my blitz techniques. I need to work on that a good bit.
Okay, so when you mention blitz techniques and then you talk about man coverage, are you talking about more of having a little bit more moves in your array when you're maybe engaged into an offensive lineman or a blocker that you're able to use a quick move to get off of
Yeah.
him? And then on the man coverage, how do you feel like? Do you feel like you haven't really done it, or is this something that you've done it and then you just feel like you need to get better at it?
Oh, I've done it a little bit, but I need to get better at it for sure though, because
Okay.
I have a little trouble. But,
Okay. So what do you think you need to really add to that in that aspect? What do you think when you say you need to get better at it, tell me what do you feel like? Why do you need to get better at it? And what do you need to do to get better at it?
well, I just feel like I need to, like when we're doing man coverage, I feel like sometimes I had trouble like when they break, like
Mm-hmm.
getting through them, or like
Mm-hmm.
something like being physical with them. Like I need to work on that, being more physical with them in the open field and keeping up with them and things like that.
Okay. All right. Well, let me tell you something. I've already showed your tape. You had a tape where you were at a camp. I don't know if it was this year or the year before,
It
but it
was
showed where you
it
go
was
ahead.
this year. It was UNA. It was North Alabama.
Okay, nice. I seen that camp and you showed a lot of ability, especially when you were doing inside the bags, going with the I don't know if it was running backs or tight ends or things of that nature. I saw your ability to be able to do that. So the ability is there. I definitely know you can do that because I saw the will to and I saw you putting in that work outside of that. So we definitely believe you can do that. But I want to talk to you about something that you had an injury that kind of kept you out of the camps that you really wanted to go to. Kind of talk about that injury that you had, how did it happen, and what's your status with the injury going forward?
Well, it was back in October. It was probably halfway through the season. We
Mm-hmm.
were playing Corinth, and they ran. I think it was an outside run. It might have been a bubble, and
Mm-hmm.
I went there to go make the tackle, and I kind of dove, and like when I landed on the ground, landed on my chest, and I rolled over and kind of rolled over on my arm,
Mm-hmm.
and it tore my rotator cuff and my labrum. But like I felt it when it happened, so but I thought it was really like a stinger or like a
Right.
strain or something. So I
Right.
kind of just got up. I played the rest of the season, and toward the end, after the season was over with, so I kept talking to my trainer about it. He was like, "You probably just need to give it time, like give it a couple of weeks, maybe it'll get better." So then we were about to start baseball, and I kept getting time and didn't get any better. So I talked to my dad and the trainer, and I was like, "I think we need to go get it checked out. It's not really getting any better." So went to the doctor, got an MRI, and tore my labrum and my rotator cuff.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me just tell you this, Bryson. You're an animal. Okay, because you got hurt early in the season, and I've heard about athletes, pro players having that injury and them fighting through it, but they're saying their effectiveness have gone. So you're playing the linebacker position with a torn labrum, torn rotator cuff. You still stayed in there the whole year. You a monster. I just want to tell you that because a lot of athletes probably would take that kind of injury and would sit out and they wouldn't play anymore. So I'm just giving you 100% props. That tells me how much you love the game. That tells me how much you care about your teammates and your players. And that's just awesome that we're able to still fight through that. And now you've been able to get better. Kind of what's the status with that right now? After you found out the injury, what's the status with that?
Well, now it's good. I'm pretty much back to normal now. But I'm probably 7 to 8 months out of surgery. I had
Mm-hmm.
surgery at the end of January, so
Mm-hmm.
and then I did physical therapy and things like that to get it back, and then finally now it's back to normal. And then when I finally got cleared, we went to a Mississippi State 7-on-7 camp, our team,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that was really like my first time playing after I had surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And one time some dude ran a slant and I kind of dove. I tried to knock the ball down and I kind of landed on my shoulder. And it kind of like scared me. 'Cause I guess just kind of get the jitters out.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it kind of bothered me a little bit, but finally it went away. Kept playing, and then when I went to the North Alabama camp, I didn't have any problems with it. So
Well, that's a great thing, and I understand where you're coming from, Bryson, because when you have a major injury like that, like you said, if you land on again, your first thought, I mean, probably when you're playing the game, you don't want to think about it, but it's in the back of your mind. Like if you
Yeah.
fall and you fall near it, your first thing you're thinking is like, is that going to be okay? Is that going to be good?
Just thinking
So
about it.
yeah. It's hard because you're trying to play the game and play it at a fast pace. But in the back of your mind, you still got that injury. Like, what if I land on it this way? It's not like it's not like college or the NFL. You can red shirt in college and get an extra year. You use that, you get hurt in high school, you lose that whole year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot more, I think, mentally effective to high school athletes when they have an injury like that, because you're like, man, I can miss a whole year. So the good thing about it is that you rehabbed it and you still have 3 full years to be able to do what you do. Now, going forward, I want to ask you, my dog Rion Young, he's a beast in the game. He gave a great article about you, and I want to give a shout out to him because he's been shooting a lot of athletes to me. So shout out to Rion Young. But he said one of the things that he really loved about you is that you love to watch film. So when we talk about film, because you know what, some athletes don't, high school athletes, some pro college players don't even watch film. So when you watching film, kind of take us to your breakdowns. What do you really look at your opponent when you're watching film? Kind of the things, what do you really look at when you're breaking down film?
Well, I feel like when I watch film, what I really try to look for is I look at the lineman the most, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we read guard. So when I read my guard, if he's like sitting back on his heels or something, I'm gonna say he's probably pulling so he can get there faster. If he's sitting on his toes, he's probably down blocking or he can block out. Kind of try to look at that, and then also I'll look at like if he's kind of backed up a little bit, like he's not in line with the center and the tackle, like he's kind of backed up. I'll say he's probably pulling, so he doesn't have to run around them. And then I try to look at the running backs if they're lined up behind them or in front of the quarterback to see if they can block or run a pass or something like that. And then if we ever play a team that has like an H back, and man, if you watch it over and over and they run to his side, and the running back follows him probably like 95% of the time, I probably try to look at him and watch where he goes, and then probably that's where the ball's going to go. So I'm probably just trying to read him, see where he goes. So.
Well, let me tell you something. That's what you're talking about is real, and that's real good stuff. Because, like I said, a lot of athletes don't really watch film. They go on really their instincts. Really feeling like, well, I know the game, and I'll be able to read that play. But film study is the key. If you can watch the film and watch tendencies and things that they kind of show you, just as you explained, it makes you a better player. So that's really awesome, especially at a young age. You're a freshman and Rion said you immerse yourself in film study. That's what's going to make you great. I'm going to keep it real. Now, I seen your number 11 on your jersey. Is that for a player or is that just because you like that number? Because I know my dog, Michael Parsons, is number 11. Okay. And he's an animal. So I'm just making sure you ain't, are you looking at some Michael Parsons or you just like number 11?
Well, really, I like number 11, but I used to be, I've changed. Like when I was younger, I was 10 because my dad was number 10. And then I changed to 5, and I've had 12 too. But really, my eighth grade year of baseball, I got number 11, and because it was really just an open number, and I kind of felt with it, started liking it, and then I got football. 11 was open again. I really just like the double ones,
I feel you. You know what I'm saying? You know what? I'm going to call you baby Michael Parsons. I don't care nobody say. You know what I mean? I'm going to refer you a baby Michael Parsons. He got that 11 on. He playing linebacker. He about to turn all the way up and go crazy over there. He got 3 years. He about to eat y'all fools up. So y'all better be ready. So let me ask you right now, Bryson. You know what? I always ask all the young athletes, what kind of motivates them, when they get up and they're going to training and they're going to practice. What kind of keeps you going? What motivates you? Is there any maybe mentors out there, maybe family mentors, anything like that? But when Bryson's kind of tired or maybe he just wants to give up, who kind of continues to push him besides yourself that want to say, this is one of the reasons why I want to keep on fighting?
Well, I really do it for my dad because he's trained me my whole life, and he's hard on me. He wants me to train a lot to get better, and he played college football at Delta State, and he kind of struggled in college, and he always tells me he doesn't want me to end up like he did in college. So he's hard on me about that, to just not to follow in his footsteps and just stay hard with him and just trust in him. And then really his dad, my granddad, he died a couple years ago, and he came to every single one of my games. He was there. He was always there. And then really, when I'm having hard times with that, I kind of think of him. Like if he was here, he would push me even harder. So I kind of think about him. So.
Hey, first of all, that's awesome. And I'm going to correlate a story. The same thing with my son. I always tell my son, be better than me. You know, I played the game. You know, I coached, but I always told my son, be better than me. So shout outs to your father and your parents, your you know, rest in peace, your grandfather. I just lost my grandfather about 5 months ago. So I know how big that is. My grandfather was one of my biggest supporters as well. So, but that's pretty awesome. We always want to give the parents a big shout out because without the parents, where would we be, right? Without the parents getting you to the camps, without the parents making the sacrifices for you, without the parents pushing you, taking you, wanting you to be great, where will we be at? So shout outs to your father, shout out to the great support system you have. So I just want to give a big salute to him, and shout outs to him how what he said, that you know what, I don't want you to fall in those footsteps as far as college like I did. I could have maybe did something, but I didn't. But I don't want you to fall in those footsteps, and I want you to be great. So shout outs to your father, big props to him, man. I just want to give a shout out to him for I already listened to how you talk. You sound very mature, so I can already see he's done an excellent job in raising you and doing that thing. So big shout outs to him, and big shout outs to you as well, because I see a lot of maturity not only in yourself, but I can see it in your game, and I feel like your game's going to continue to take it to a next level because of that maturity. So big shout outs to that. Now, do you have like anybody, do you ever watch in college or maybe the pro game that you look at the linebacker position, because it seems like that's where you really going to hone your craft at? Do you look at anybody in that game and really say, hey, I look at this player and I really want to pattern my game after him?
Well, I like Ray Lewis, and that's a big name, but I like him. I like because he was a good player for sure. I mean, but my fault.
No, you good.
I like how he now, like, you know, he's a motivational speaker, and I like that. Okay? I listen to him sometimes. I'm just sitting in school, like just at an off break or something. I sit there and listen to him, or something, like watching his highlights or something in class on YouTube and stuff like that.
Nice. Now, you know what's so funny that you just said that, Bryson? Every linebacker that I've interviewed, you know, the person they told me, I said, who's one guy you want to pattern your games up? They all said Ray Lewis. So Ray should be feeling real good. Yes, I've had four kids on here that were linebackers. They all mentioned Ray Lewis. So Ray Lewis, you did your job, dog. Everybody loves you, and you've been the animal. So that's awesome right there. So before we kind of get off of here and kind of end this, is there anything that maybe, like, you know, anybody you want to give a shout out to, maybe some coaches, teammates, guys that kind of helped you along to kind of bring the greatness out of you that's already happened so far?
Or like I said before, really just my dad. He's been there a lot. He helps me. And my mom, she's there all the time. She comes to all my games too. They're always my family. They're always there. And then at my high school, I have great coaches, so they push me. And my head coach is actually my dad's best friend. They grew up together, and he's hard on me all the time. So really, it's my family, my coaches. Some of them, they're hard on me, which, like, that's why I am the way I am today.
Yeah, and they've done a great job. Now, going into your sophomore season, obviously your team goals are going to win a championship. Everybody wants to win the state championship. We understand that. But maybe besides the state championship, what are maybe some of your team goals that you have? You know, leadership, maybe some things of that nature. And also, what are some of your personal goals that maybe you set aside for yourself this season?
Well, really just team goals. I mean, I feel like we just need to have a good time while we're playing, you know. I mean, of course, you know, win games and, like you said, win the state championship. And like the last 3 years, I mean, we've made it to – last year we made it to the third round. The year before we made it to North Half. And then the year before we made it to the third round too. So really just want to try to do better than that, but really just have fun. And then really by myself, I just really want to have another good year. Try to have more tackles than I did last year. But it's really about it.
I feel you. Okay, that's what's up. All right, so we're getting ready to conclude out of here. Now, I always ask the young men about their grades. How are you academically right now?
I have a 3.8 GPA. I've got all A's and B's. It's really about it.
That's nice. 3.8.
Well, pretty good in school.
Well, I wouldn't say you're pretty good. 3.8 GPA is pretty damn good. I don't like to curse on here, but 3.8 is pretty damn good. Now, everybody, a lot of the athletes I've interviewed, they say, obviously they want to have some pro aspirations, and that's a great thing. But we do know the numbers is hard to get into the league. Have you thought about outside of a career what you maybe want to do outside of if you don't potentially go to the NFL, things of that nature? Have you thought of a career outside of that?
I mean, I've thought about it before. I just haven't really found something. I'll work now. Like I work with my stepdad. He has his business, and I work with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I ain't really thought about it a lot, really.
That's all good. Well, like I said, you got 3 years to kind of hone everything down. So you got a time to maneuver and figure out what you really want to do. But the good thing about it is, though, Bryson, is that while you're maneuvering, your grades are on point. So you're always going to be able to leave yourself open to be able to do what you want to do because you're already headed on that good path because you're focused. And I like that. So, as I told all the young athletes as we end here, that we're not going to just do one interview, Bryson. We're going to do a beginning interview, we're going to do a mid-season interview, and we're going to also do a end of the season. So we're going to talk about what you said, maybe your own team goals, your personal goals, or what you wanted to do, and we're going to see if you accomplish those at the mid-season, at the end of the season. So it's going to be a good thing. Also, like I've been telling all the young athletes, we're going to do a weekly show. So make sure you give me all your stats each week so we can put you on a weekly show and see who could be player of the week, things of that nature. So that's going to be an exciting thing that we really want to do. So make sure you give me as much tape, as much info as you can so we can always highlight you each week when you're playing, okay?
Sounds good.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So do you have any last things you want to say before we get off here?
I do not.
Okay, well, we definitely appreciate you for myself. Make sure you check this out. Bryson Walters, sophomore linebacker, 6'2", 230 pounds. He's going to be a dog. Like I said, I've showed us a little bit of his tape on the channel. You're going to see a lot more of him, but you remember this name because he might be a household name later in the future. So for Big Game James, Bryson Walters, we'll be talking soon. Generation Next, up and comers. We're out. Peace.